Hi, everyone. I am Michelle Bell, the Vice President of Editorial with ASI, and I am here with Miles Lovegrove and Matt Franks, who are our 2021 Counselor International Persons of the Year. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it feels amazing.
Yeah, I'm super happy for you guys. And I have to tell you, you were in the awards selection committee, a super easy choice for us because I have kind of followed your story as I've gotten to know both of you, and what you have done certainly over the past year has been amazing. And I want to touch on that a little bit, some of the points. But I'm just curious right now, as you guys are in the UK, two things. How's business right now that we're in Q2? We're literally midway through the year. How's business and how's everything as far as COVID and your situation with, are things opening up, masks, stuff like that? So can you just give us an update?
Yeah, I'll hand over to Miles in terms of updating on the commercial side of things. But in terms of the COVID side, yeah, I mean the UK is now opening back up again. We've had a slight hiccup with a new strain, which is kind of put everyone on the back foot a little bit, but hopefully within about maybe 3 or 4 weeks away of properly opening up again the economy with literally no social restrictions. So I think there will still be a hangover for some of that, and that will still impact us in a work sense in terms of providing products, also in terms of how we operate. But generally speaking, we're in a really good position in the UK now. And it's just been a crazy year in every way for everyone, but for us in particular, we've had real commercial success over the last 12 months, which is kind of off the back of a really good period of a few years of growth anyway. And the team have been just amazing. So yeah, we're kind of proud of what we've achieved, but also of the team behind us. But things are definitely picking back up, swinging back more in terms of merchandise rather than PPE and what have you. But Miles, if you want to chip in with the commercial side.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so difficult, though, isn't it, to sort of compare the promo industry from where we were sort of 12 months ago, 18 months ago. And I'm pretty sure every single person that you ask, they might also give a slightly different story. It's always very difficult to kind of almost compare it like for like. But, me personally, I firmly believe that the merchandise business won't return to the same that it was, pre-COVID. I don't think you'll be able to make the sort of like for like comparisons. Unfortunately, the promo industry is the first sort of industry to suffer during a lockdown, and it's exactly the same as within the last recession, really. What we found in the UK is that housing markets tend to close up first, and then retail then follows because consumers stop spending, and then businesses look to preserve cash. And typically speaking, it's the marketing and the promo industry that kind of suffers because of that. Just to give you a comparison, I think our business during the last recession back in 2008, our business took a sort of a 20 to 30% dip, something in that region. But to give you a comparison, sort of when COVID hit in the UK in sort of March, April of last year, we took a 90% drop. It was absolutely incredible. And Michelle, you're nodding there, and I think that's probably similar to a lot of what the US businesses have seen as well. So as you can imagine, we had to sort of pivot, pretty quickly and look to sort of sell PPE items quite quickly. But in as far as the market's concerned, though, that had a real significant impact on our supply chain and the number of companies. There's companies that have gone out of business, and there's supply partners that are no longer able to supply the same products that they used to. And I just think that the industry is definitely starting to show a rebound. It's definitely starting to look better and more positive. But I think it's adapted, and I think it's changed based upon a lot of what our customers are doing, and that's specifically a result of COVID. So as an example, it's things like companies and people returning to work. They're actually exiting their office space. People are actually working more from home, and I think that's leading to a change within our industry. Things like those working conditions and people recruiting key personnel and engaging their workforce and recognition programs and trying to sort of motivate them. I think what we've actually seen is that there's this huge shift towards individual gifting, personalization of sort of products, individual shipping, fulfillment, logistics. It's changing, and it's changing in a way that wasn't the same as before. Sort of on-demand gifting in the UK has gone absolutely crazy, and our warehouse has never been sort of so busy. But I just think if that's the route that the whole industry is moving towards, then it's a pretty inefficient way that people are used to. Rather than buying in bulk individually, our systems and our technology, is in place, but it's not in place to make it as efficient as it should be. So Fluid has continued to invest in software development, to cope with those sort of changing times and changing industries. So there's obviously lots more sort of issues to come, but it'd just be interesting really to see how manufacturing changes, how product supply changes, and how all the companies within our industry are going to sort of adapt to that. And in the UK as well, we have Brexit to deal with, which comes with a whole new rules and regulations and all that sort of stuff. So that's going to have sort of a big impact on us as well. So it's it's difficult to sort of say how well the promo industry is doing, but I think everybody who's adapted well and can cope, we are seeing a return to those sort of similar levels pre-COVID, but it's just different, and I think we need to be able to adapt to that.
Boris Johnson, the gift that keeps giving.
Absolutely.
So let me just ask you real quick, because I have so many questions for you guys. So compared to 2020 and 2019, Miles, where are you guys now approximately, like sales wise? Like, look, I know 2020 was, a steep drop for most people, not so much for you guys, and I'll get to that in a minute, but where are you, like, as far as, are you up 10% from last year and the year before right now that we're mid-year?
Again, it's difficult to compare, like, sort of year on year, as far as, finances as a trigger of a success factor. And it's not just profit, it's just, it's not the sort of be all and end all. We've achieved lots of things that are sort of separate to profit as well. But if we're just talking sort of specifically on numbers, we were on track to do around about $25 million revenue, roughly speaking, around about that pre-COVID, and because of the amounts of PPE that we sold, we actually jumped up to a significantly more. We actually jumped up to around about 40 million euro revenue turnover, dollar turnover. But this year, what we've actually seen is that drop back down. However, if you sort of track it, if you go pre-COVID, if you took out sort of the COVID revenue and the amounts that we actually, the orders that we took on PPE, we're probably about 30% up year on year. However, that's not, a typical industry trend. What we're actually finding is people dipped a lot and they're still low. We're actually bucking that trend, and for lots of different reasons. It's mainly down to the team and how, sort of focused that we've been in terms of making sure that we're not cutting back on anything. We made no redundancies during, COVID. We absolutely made sure that we carried on marketing, kept pushing the team, and kept developing and investing in our people. And I think that's 100%, one of the major reasons that's like seen us through. So yeah, we spiked because of COVID, but if you took that out of it, we're probably sort of 30 to 40% up on sort of year on year.
That's wonderful. And Matt, when you and I spoke initially, when we were talking about this award, you mentioned two things that I think were really interesting as far as how you guys handled it in your strategy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you did not have to let anybody on the staff go. You kept your staff. And just to let everyone be aware, Fluid Branding you have a footprint throughout Europe, really. I mean, you're based in the UK, but you have offices throughout Europe, and certainly you have an affiliation in the US with companies like Overture, but I don't believe you had to really reduce staff. And the thing I thought was really interesting, Matt, you said that many companies during something like this that is so catastrophic, whether it's a recession, whatever, their tendency is to pull back. Things ramped back up because we all knew that they would, that you guys would be ready to hit the ground running. And would you consider that to be a real differentiator with what you did?
Yeah, absolutely. We've learned, we established a company in 2006. So we ran through a previous recession, of some significance that we learned a lot from. And the difference between now and then was in our third year of trading, sort of around 2008. And we hadn't been able to put a war chest behind us or build up significant reserves. This time, off the back of some strong years between the previous recession and the COVID situation, then we've grown the company quite rapidly, but we've done it in a very kind of prudent way as well. We have made sure that we've grown in a sustainable way, and we've been able to kind of put some cash, left a lot of cash within the business. So we've never been one to kind of strip it clean anyway. And that allowed us really a little bit of leeway. So the lessons we learned from previous, which was that we took a very similar approach really, in terms of maintaining not only our team, but investing more in terms of software and systems, and making the use of the fact that there's going to be, in certain areas of the business, a lot more headroom and a lot more time to be able to tackle certain things that we would have loved to have tackled before, but we didn't have the time or the breathing space. So we took a very deliberate decision to do that and to review a few areas, particularly IT, kept the full IT team working throughout and cracking through some projects that had been backlogged for a little while. We did make use of the furlough system in the UK. I don't know if it was in place in the US where there's some government assistance to maintain staff, where there was clearly too much or too little work for some other people to do. The nature of the business changed phenomenally over a period of a few months. We were taking some very high value orders but relatively simple orders in terms of shifting stock around, PPE and what have you, has its own complications. We employed instantly when we shifted over to that. We employed 2 people full time on compliance, product compliance, to make sure that we were completely on the ball with that. But there were certain areas of the business where you're not dealing with branded product a lot of the time. It's a lot simpler to handle some of these products. When the order lands, it's relatively straightforward to push it through. So aside from some odd issues around that, generally some of the areas of the business were a bit more slack. So we made use of the furlough system, but brought people back as soon as we could, and we're fortunate enough not to need to lay anybody off at all. But what we didn't do as well was we didn't pull back on the marketing. And I think some of these kind of things, there is in any situation, as an individual or as a company, there's a natural reaction. But I think sometimes you have to temper that a little bit and just catch a breath, just hold your nerve for a bit, assess the situation, and then make a decision with your head. And that's what we chose to do. And we continued to market ourselves very strongly throughout. And really the tactic for the whole thing, or the strategy really, was to gain market share, really. So we knew that the market was going to dip. We knew that we were in a good position. We looked after our staff before and during COVID, so we had a real loyal team there. And so we knew that, as we came back out of this, we're in a really, really strong position to grow quickly again. And that's showing the case at the moment. So it was similar kind of approach to the previous times, but with a slightly different environment.
Because we've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, I say environment, an understatement.
Miles, you mentioned that there's a considerable shift, as there is here in the US, as far as what do people do now as far as work from home. And I've spent a lot of time on your website, you guys, and I love the way that you position your team. You clearly have a very robust team full of lots of personalities. Like, I went through every single person's little profile on who likes what. I loved it. It was great. So I'm curious how you guys are going to handle that. Are you going to have people? It seems to me that your culture is very important to you. You guys mentioned it a lot when I interviewed you for your profile. So, is that something that you're going to keep leaning into, or are you going to forego some of your brick and mortar offices that you have throughout Europe? Because look, rent certainly is very expensive and people do love working from home. So I'm just curious where you kind of land on that.
I like the fact that this sort of pandemic has thrown a bit of a spanner in the works. It's mixed things up a little bit, because I think the typical way that companies ran in the past, I don't think it's going to be the same again. As a company, we've always been very flexible with our team. I love the sort of saying about we treat our team as adults, we employ adults, and we expect them to operate in that way. We give them the trust and we give them responsibility and the power to make their own decisions, to make mistakes and take risks and really sort of push every single challenge and avenue that they possibly can. And the fact that 100% more people within our organisation are going to be wanting to work from home, either full time or on a flexible basis, and we should absolutely embrace that for lots of different reasons. And we within the company, within Fluid, we talk about it quite a lot, but we have this defined structure within our organisation that we call the 3 pillars. And they're called our Fluid Friends, our Fluid Family, and our Fluid Futures. And Fluid Family is all about the team and how we actually, encourage them to be as best as they possibly can be. Really kind of look at how we recruit, how we train, how we develop, and how we sort of coach those individuals to really sort of grow the business and take responsibility for growing those aspects of the business. So, it's a big thing, and one of our sort of key strategic aims is always focused around culture, and it's to establish, a business as a force for good as part of our B Corporation. But it's also about, aligning the teams, making sure that, we're continuing investing in our teams, continuing to help them develop and help them to grow. So I think that's, if productivity within Fluid is 100% definitely gone up, during this period, and people are, taking responsibility whether they're working from the office or working from home. So we should embrace that, and we should change, with the times as we go. So to answer your question specifically, are we going to lose offices? We're definitely looking at each one on an individual basis. We have 7 offices throughout the UK, sort of 3 international offices in Ireland and the Netherlands, and within those locations already, people already work from home. However, if we need the offices, then we'll absolutely keep them open, because again, that collaboration and people seeing each other on a day-to-day is really, really important. I think we will encourage them to still come in on a regular basis, even if they're working from home. But if we don't need the offices there, of course, there's no point in having a cost there, if we don't need it. But we will if it means that the team will be able to collaborate and work more efficiently. So our head office is definitely going to remain open, and we'll look at all the other offices individually as we go. But it won't be a decision based purely on can we save some costs. It will be based upon what is right for the team, within those locations and how they operate. We've already sort of discussed something like that. Our London office will 100% still remain open. The team there get a lot more, and we discussed it with each one of those individuals. They'll get a lot more from going into the office every single day. So, it's going to change a lot, for lots of different companies out there. And then there's this whole question that's coming up within the UK at the moment as well, is what's going to happen to all that office space? There's loads of companies within London that are all moving out of their head offices, and it's going to create a lot of space there that someone's going to need to do something with. So that'll be quite an interesting one, I think, for the next 12 months in terms of how they adapt.
Sure, thank you, Matt Franks. I have another question for you.
Oh, far away.
So when I interviewed you guys for the profile I wrote, there's so much great information that you guys shared with me. One thing I was not able to fit in that I do want to touch on now, because I thought it was a really fascinating point, was I did talk about how you are one of the few industry companies in the UK. You're certainly one of the biggest distributors in the UK, but one of the few that's a certified B Corp. And Matt, some of the questions I had for you was how younger generations, Gen Y, millennials, really the way companies present themselves and who they are culturally really resonates with younger generations, whether it be a company's stance on sustainability, and they're really kind of embracing product sustainability, but also when a company is drawing a line in the sand and saying we are a B Corp, there's a lot behind that really signifies the type of company that is. And you and I talked a little bit about how you guys have seen the younger buyers respond to that, and what they really, there's like a direct line between the type of companies they want to do business with and where they're putting their dollars. And if you could just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so we, like I say, I touched on the growth of the company before. We kind of went through, as we came out of the recession and went into that kind of period of time between 2012, 2013 and a couple of years ago, there was a period of time where we did a bit of self-reflection, and we kind of felt as a company we'd hit those kind of later teenage years. It felt like, in terms of our life as a company, we'd kind of grown up a little bit, and a bit like an individual, you do a bit of self-reflection, and we did that, and we said, right, we need to, well, who are we as a company, who are we as a team of people? And we went through, it took us a couple of years or so really to analyze who and how do we differentiate. We felt different, but how do we actually articulate that? And so what came out of that was, it was all about the team and all about the ethos of the company. So us as kind of leaders of the company, I guess, but also the culture and the team that we've got, the team of individuals all across the company. And really that came out in terms of there's a definite sense of purpose behind it, and we weren't just trying to make a profit. It wasn't all about making money. That was clearly a financial and commercial success was definitely a big part of it, but there was much more to it than that. And so that's when it's actually a good friend of mine was quite heavily involved in the B Corporation as it came across to the UK, and I was aware and chatting to him socially, and thought this was a really good way. It tied in really well with this kind of self-identity and this reflection that we've done about who we are as a company. So we effectively rebranded about probably 4 or 5 years ago now, and off the back of that we formed these 3 pillars that Miles touched on, and we went through the whole B Corp journey and things like that, and it was really enlightening, and it was a relief almost to kind of feel what was always there within the company, but just, like I say, to be able to define and articulate it. And it helped us then to differentiate So commercially, I think it's been a really solid thing to do, but actually it's very genuine and very kind of there's integrity there as well. So what we thought or what we realised very early on from a commercial point of view was that it absolutely aligned us with a new wave of buyers that are coming through, and a new generation, both in terms of our customers, but also then the teams that work for us, and more that, to attract and to retain top people within the company. They had to, I think the world's moved on, and a lot of the talent that are coming out, probably for the last few years now, have been looking for something more than just working for a kind of a corporation or a financially driven organisation, and they want to actually feel like they're learning and growing themselves, but also making a difference in the world. And so that kind of, it really fitted, and it ticked all the boxes for us. So it's a bit of a cliche, but it kind of fitted really well for us. So commercially and from a personal point of view, both for Miles and I, it fitted really well, and it's allowed us to go from strength to strength, really. And it really, we fall back onto that on decision making throughout the company now, in terms of recruitment, in terms of clients that we work with, in terms of product selection, in terms of training of teams, in terms of working with the communities around us, and the kind of fluid futures, and the kind of more philanthropic side of things and what have you. So it's been a really, really sound move for us, and it makes us. That was part of that growing up as a company. So Miles touched on, we employ adults. I think we kind of feel like an adult now as well, which is a bit weird.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to touch on, because again, obviously you guys are our 2021 International Persons of the Year. And you were part of the group that kind of spearheaded a new kind of entity called Brand Unbound, which is a really interesting concept. And it seems to me that it's kind of a well curated group of best in class distributors from different places around the globe. In the US, of course, it's Overture, which is one of our top 40 companies, and I think there's Tango in Canada, if memory serves.
Yeah.
So if you could just touch on a little bit, because this award in particular speaks to how important it is in promo to have a kind of a global mindset and to have a global footprint. And if you could just talk a little bit about the importance of that and how that's helped your business.
Yeah, definitely. I think when it comes to global, presence, it's just, delivering products on a local level is then almost vital. It's impossible to say you're a global company and then not have a presence within those localized, countries or locations. So Brand Unbound really is a collection, like I say, best in class. We sort of been working with Overture for a long period of time and the other partners there, but really what we do is we work together to support, that aspect of the need for global thinking, but also that aspect of local execution as well. So we don't know everything that's going on within the US, and likewise, they might not know everything that's going on within Europe. So we definitely sort of lean on each other in a collaborative way. We sort of collaborate over lots of different things and communicate over lots of different things, including buying of products and shipping and cost efficiencies and all the types of things that we can to be able to give that global presence to our customers. So it's worked really, really well from that point of view, but it is vital to have that local execution as well. So the knowledge of the merchandise consultants who are actually working there is really, really important. And then what happens is our clients then receive relevant merchandise within that region. It's things like, the French market is very different from the German market. I think the stats are out there, something like 65% of, the German consumers want environmentally friendly products, whereas the majority of French consumers want products that are actually manufactured in France, whereas the Netherlands are not so worried. So it's having that local knowledge and execution that is absolutely vital. So, we trust each other, we trust our partners to be able to deliver that, and we just felt that is the best approach for our business. And it definitely speaks volumes because of that global partnership, we've gone on to win some quite substantial tenders and contracts from big clients over in Europe. So it's been a great platform for that, and a great platform for our customers as well, because they know that if they need anything within those localized regions, then there is a cohesive and joined up approach to the merchandise that is delivered, and also that the companies that are looking after their brand and policing it are there, and they're going to do that properly, and they're going to actually ensure that they're well looked after wherever their employees are around the world. So it's been the right approach for us.
That's great. So if you guys had to pick one area in the world that you can identify as like, that is a really interesting growing market that we're keeping on our eye on, whether maybe you want to open an office there or just that you see real business potential, where would it be?
Now, this is a really interesting one, because it's almost impossible to be able to say that. And what I mean by that is what our requirements are may be very, very different to somebody else's requirements. And all I would definitely say is it's all in the research. You've got to understand the reasons why you're looking to get into those markets first and foremost, because otherwise it's just going to be a fail from the beginning. Within Europe, Germany is definitely the biggest market. It's by far the biggest, and immediately you kind of go, oh, let's expand into Germany, because there's lots of potential there, but it's also the most competitive. So why would you want to do that? So typically speaking, when we've kind of looked at sort of different country locations and where it might be a good idea to expand to, there's loads of sort of key factors that we look into, and that is things like ease of entry, size of the market, how much competition is there, is it complex over there, even down to things like language and culture and cost. All comes into it. So I think any company needs to have a plan, needs to actually understand the reasons why they want to enter that market, and then decide to move forward on that basis. It was quite interesting. We did this research a little while ago, and the countries that within Europe that came sort of top of our list of potential were not ones that you would even think about. Do you know what I mean? You kind of think, oh, really? But actually, once you look into the research, the markets are really, really great, and there's very little competition there. So it's you need a sort of a plan first and foremost, I think, to go there. And then the second thing is just, I love data. You've got to get into the numbers and understand it. And we're actually we're soon to be acquiring a company in Paris, in France. And part of that, we actually went through a due diligence process of looking at how big that market was. And Google's great for this. They can tell us exactly who's searching and where they're searching and when they're searching, what products they're searching for. And we're able to establish exactly what that market is going to be like for us by using the information that's historically there and is available, real time and whenever you need it. So I think definitely research and data and analysing exactly what you need as a company is the most important thing. So I haven't really answered your question there, Michelle. I'm not sort of sitting on the fence, but I genuinely believe it's all down to the individual company and what they're looking to do and what they're looking to move to.
I got add something quickly in there, and well, apart from the fact that I love Miles because he loves data. Oh, excuse me. But also, it's a bit of push and pull as well, Michelle. So it's a bit of kind of, some of it is us having a deliberate approach to kind of growing the company overseas and what have you. And some of it is where our clients demand it or where our partners demand it. And so, it's a bit of a kind of a moving feast really, in terms of, some of it is driven by us and where we strategically want to grow. And some of it is kind of external and driven by others, really.
Okay. I like 2 more questions. Ready? First is, what are you happy to let go post-COVID? Like, so much changed. What are you happy to, kind of, that was a great change that we're not going to go back to?
Face masks. I'm going to let go of face masks. I don't, Miles, you can go first on that.
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. Do you mean from a business perspective?
Yes.
To be honest with you, I think the way that the team adapted and the way that the team sort of communicate now, I definitely don't want to let go. We had a few comments back from our senior leadership team and the teams of people that then sort of report into them about how good communication was and how good that sort of adapted. And one of the things, obviously, that everybody now does is, video conferencing. Previously we used to travel around the whole country and meet up on a regular basis, and it used to cost a lot of money just getting there and time as well and all that sort of stuff. Whereas now, within a few minutes, you can all jump on a video call together and have those conversations relatively quickly and easily without having sort of days out of the office. So I think I love the fact that not only within our company but also our clients are embracing it, and actually they're actually seeing the time savings and the cost saving benefits of video conferencing. I don't think we should. I definitely wouldn't want to move away from it entirely. There's still lots of benefits in having face-to-face meetings, both as a company and with our clients. However, I do think there's a lot more achieved and we're a lot more productive as an organization because we can have those conversations quickly and it can be dealt with quickly, and then, that it can be moved on. So I think, personally, I know our teams communicate a lot more than they ever have And I think that's mainly down to sort of video conferencing and having this sort of schedule. And also the other thing I love about it is that there's no time wasting. There's no kind of, don't get me wrong, it's lovely to have a cup of coffee before you move into meetings, but typically what we're seeing now, especially with our clients, is it's a hard stop. We are meeting at this time, everyone dials in at that time, and at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, whenever it's up, it's done. They're often say, look, unfortunately I've got another meeting to go to, and that's when you finish. And I think because of that, people are then more focused on the objectives of that particular meeting as well. So they're straight to the point and they're getting the work done. And again, it's being much more productive. So for me, I definitely wouldn't want to lose video conferencing, whichever platform you use. I definitely think that's been a real positive and something that should stay.
I totally agree with you. I would not discount, though, the advantage of meeting people in person. Lest
Absolutely.
you forget, I would not know you guys had Matt Franks and I not met in some of the, remember that little bar at that weird little hotel at the show?
Alcohol was not involved. A little bit.
So my last question for you guys is, I know that you've made some recent acquisitions. Clearly, you have another one on the horizon. What's your goal? What's your plan 1 to 3 years for the company? Keep expanding, more offices, more. One
of the things it's again allowing us to do is we probably would have done it anyway, if I'm honest, but is reflect again in terms of the next stage of growth for the company. So we have both a 1 to 3 and a 3 to 5 year plan, and so it takes us up to year 3, and then where we're going beyond that. What we all probably know about planning is that the only thing is it won't go to plan. You can put all the plans in place, but life won't work out quite that way. But you need a plan and a vision. So I think we're more about the vision than the specific plan. The plan really is to grow, and we have targets that we're going to grow to over the next 3 years, and that is split down between organic growth and acquisition. So we have a separate plan for acquisition and organic. We've weighed them up in terms of the contribution from both of those to the overall growth. We have some aggressive growth targets in place. So we've always been ones for setting quite large targets and then almost spookily hitting them. So it's like you put these figures down and you think, oh, they're a stretch, and then it's amazing how that affects all the decision making, not only for yourselves, but if you communicate that well within the team, everyone pulls together to make it happen. And so we've got those stretch targets in place again between now and year 3. And then it's kind of probably a level up again, but probably involving external partners at that stage, and that could be in, again, a number of different ways. So we've always driven the business with an eye for keeping options open, and so rather than a particular hard plan that we have, we go in a particular direction with quite a lot of thinking and talented team behind us, but then we always try and leave a few options open. And that's the plan again, really.
Yeah, and there's some other aspects to that as well, because revenue and margin, of course, is really, really important. It's a good success indicator, but as a company, it's not the be all and end all. We're a big corporation, and because of that, we look at success in lots of different ways as well, including our team and our customers and our society, our community, our environment, and all of those things are part of strategic aims moving forward. So, generally within our sort of plan over the next 3 years is to ensure that we keep developing in some key areas. And the first one is just service. Customers are our priority. We need to give them the 100%, what they deserve and what they're expecting. But we want to focus on service. We want to focus on communication. We want to commit to delivering meaningful merchandise as we do, and making sure that we deliver it on time. We also love kind of disrupting our industry a bit. Sort of trying to lead those quality standards and ethical standards. I think is really, really important. The second thing is our culture. We're always looking to establish a more sustainable business. B Corporation could talk about this, being a force for good. But if we can stand up with other B corporations and really sort of fly the flag for sustainable business, that's going to be fantastic from our side. So we want to ensure that understanding gets promoted throughout the company, and that everybody feels that, and they're all pulling in the same direction. So we want to invest in the teams, and we want to make sure that they're sort of growing in exactly the right way. And then the last thing is always technology. We've been the company that we've always kind of embraced technology. We're looking to embed, full e-commerce within, our client experience, which would be great if we can do that fully. But also, our ERP systems, making sure they've got full integration, making sure that it talks to our website and the merchandise stores and our supply chain as well, and just making sure that whole kind of user experience for our customers is good. And there's so many more things that are developing that we're seeing from the retail industry now in terms of order efficiencies, delivery tracking, order details, all that sort of stuff that we should be doing and could be doing. So I think there's lots of things that we've achieved in the last 12 months that I would say success, and it's not necessarily all just about profit. There's loads of developments that have happened because we're focusing on business being sustainable rather than just hopefully our business will still be here long after me and Matt are not sort of talking on webinars and podcasts anymore, and it will be the next wave of individuals that are coming through and really sort of flying the sustainability flag as well. So I think that's sort of our goal and target.
That's an important point as well, Miles, is I think over the last sort of year or two, putting a senior leadership team in place and then allowing us to kind of step out in the operational to a certain extent, I think has been a real key factor for us. And that senior leadership team are now pretty established, and it's allowed us headspace to kind of lift ourselves out of the day to day really, and not only to operate the company, but to actually for them to drive the company forward. And we've really seen massive progress over the last 12 months in that. And that's just kind of a real credit to them really. But that's a big difference.
It seems to me that when you guys set goals, you go big or go home, because one of the other things that you mentioned to me that is in the article, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of your goals is to be carbon net neutral. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, it is a big one. We're following, B Corporation have a plan, a platform that sets out, and we're following their sort of guidelines as it goes at the moment. But it is a big one. I sort of mentioned earlier about sort of profit, whether that is seen as a success factor, and yes, it should be. But we've made a commitment now to go net zero, and that is not just about reducing our carbon emissions by 2030, but that's trying to genuinely cut them, rather than just offsetting. We're actually embarking on an offsetting campaign with Ecology, where we're going to be planting trees when people place orders for customers, and which is a great incentive, and I'm 100% behind it. But really, we should be looking at how we can cut emissions rather than just offsetting emissions. So it's a big step forward, and I think it's definitely something that we should be doing. And I think a lot of those, companies that, again, are part of B Corp are really setting the standard there and helping each other, collaborating together to really, drive that forward. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to hit that.
But wouldn't life be dull without a few big challenges, I'm sure?
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't even know what that would look like, Matt Franks. Well, I want to thank you guys, first of all, and really congratulations. You are a wonderful, Fluid Branding is a wonderful example of what it is to be an international company. And certainly congratulations to you both. I'm disappointed that you won't be able to join us in Chicago, and we're not having the counselor banquet this year. We will next year, because if there's nothing I would love more, it would be to buy you two a very fancy drink at this swanky establishment known as the Lodge.
I've heard about that place, yeah.
Well, thank
you sometime soon.
For sure. I will be in Europe as soon as we can in January. But thank you guys very much for your time. And again, congratulations on your award.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.